Welcome again. I'm so happy you're here. Today's episode is going to be about a topic that I hear very often with internationals I speak with and clients, and that is I have too many ideas and I just cannot commit to one. And that is something that I feel very close to because that was also my story. So today I'm going to tell you a bit more about that and what it's been like for me, and also give you a simple 5-step framework on how you can filter through those many ideas and just find the one that you are going to be willing to test further. And that is the exact goal. It is to find one to test further because we're not going to try and find the right business that you need to develop, but we're going to try and find something that you can right now feel confident enough to give it more effort to explore. So let's get into it. You're listening to Business Sparks with Val, the podcast for expats and internationals who are done overthinking and are ready to build their business on their own terms. I'm your host, Valeria, business coach and founder of Spark Coaching with Val. Each week, I will bring you tips, learnings, and honest conversation so you can build with more clarity, more confidence, and a lot less second guessing. Let's get started. This thing about having too many ideas and not knowing which one to commit to is something that I hear so often. You probably also heard it already from the last episode where my client Line was explaining her own journey to entrepreneurship. That was also her situation. And that has been my situation as well. And it often comes with a lot of shame around that because somehow we have this pressure on ourselves that we need to figure it out. And if we haven't figured it out, there's something wrong. I think it's quite the opposite. I think that the more talented, the more experience you have, the more options you will have, and the harder it's going to be for you to actually pick one. And that is specifically true for internationals because you have all of this experience across different countries, cultures, environments, industries, roles, you name it. So that goes without saying that you've developed a very wide range of skills and interests. So those skills come with many different options when you think about building your business. On the other hand, as well, we have been used to being adaptable and also to spotting opportunities when other people may not see them. All of these makes it even harder to pick which one to commit to. And it feels slightly terrifying, the idea of picking just one option, because you instantly think about the regret of not pursuing some other ideas that may be equally interesting. And also you start wondering all the what ifs that come with picking just one decision. It suddenly feels a bit like a trap. I get it completely, but it doesn't have to be like that. And I also want to start by saying that this is a very normal psychological thing to experience. Our brain literally has an optimal number of choices that it likes to pick from. That means that if you have too little choices, your brain reacts negatively to it because it feels trapped to only limited directions. But at the same time, what we often don't think is that there is also a too high number of choices that your brain also doesn't like and doesn't respond well, in which it starts to think about all the trade-offs, start comparing, unable to pick. And that's what we call then analysis paralysis, when you get stuck in this circle of analyzing all your choices and unable to pick one. How do we find the balance between having enough choices to evaluate, but not too many that we get stuck? But before we go into the framework that I want to share with you, I just want to give you a few examples of the ideas that I've had throughout the years and why I ended up not picking them. Actually, before I share that, one important thing, not choosing is also a choice. And that is the only one that is guaranteed to keep you stuck wherever you are right now and not moving you forward. So when we think about all the choices, not choosing is also one of them. Anyways, throughout my career, I've had a few viable business ideas. And I say that they're viable not just because I had these ideas, but because I tested them and I actually found that there was a potential in the market and I received feedback from it. But then there are also reasons why I didn't pursue them. So first, it started in university when, as part of a summer class that we had around entrepreneurship design, we had to come up with a startup idea and make it viable for the market. And then we would be evaluated on whether that was realistic enough. I came up with this idea that was a social enterprise around upcycling furniture. And the idea was that everything and everyone deserves a second chance. And so we would basically collect furniture that was discarded here in Copenhagen, which if you are from here, you know that it's crazy the amount of good furniture that gets thrown away every year because people just change it constantly. And so we would pick that up and then we would employ people that are either ex-convicts or people in general, like that haven't been in the workforce for a while and needed to be trained in a new skill, in a new trade, to be reinserted back into the workforce. And we thought about the whole business model. We got approved as a viable business from the course. We were one of the few ones that actually made it, except back then I was a student and I was fairly broke. I have been here for 2 years and I wasn't even sure I wanted to stay in the country. And that was an idea that was very much rooted in the territory and an idea for which I didn't know anything about, like how you collaborate with municipality, how you get funded. I don't know anything about woodworking, for one. There were too many elements, too many unknown elements, and my timing for this idea wasn't right. So I parked it. Fast forward a few years, COVID came. And as many people during COVID, I re-explored one of my greatest passions, which is art and abstract painting. You can actually see some of my paintings here in the background. So during that time, I started painting again and I started selling my art through my network. So colleagues, friends of friends, and so on. And it slowly picked up. I opened up an Instagram account. I even sold to a few people that I didn't know through that, until I realized that to keep up with this idea, I would have had to start painting on demand. And that idea didn't sit really well with me. I want to paint when I feel inspired to do so and not because I feel like I need to sell. And I'm going to say this because it's very important if you're hearing this. Not everything you're passionate about should become a business, because once you put a monetary value to something you're passionate about, your relationship with it changes immensely. And that did that for me. Plus, I didn't want to figure out shipping to other countries. And I mean, that per se presented a hurdle. So I parked that and now I just do it, in my free time, whenever I want. Few years after, I got married in Italy and I organized the entire wedding myself from Denmark. And that meant organizing 13 different vendors, making sure they coordinated with each other, having more than 100 guests coming from different countries, arranging, how to get them to the venue and back. A lot of different moving parts. But I actually loved it. I loved the whole process. I loved to be able to create my own wedding. And that's what made me think, oh my God, I could totally do this for Scandinavians that want to get married in Italy, but because they don't speak the language and they don't understand the culture, it's going to be extremely difficult for them to do what I'm doing. And then I explored it further and I realized that part of the culture is that you meet with the people that you're going to work with in person. And so that would have meant for me to travel often to Italy to deal with the vendors. And that is something that I wasn't willing to do because I like my freedom of traveling, but I also like to do it on my own terms. So I want to decide when I go to Italy and enjoy the time there and not just going back and forth for work. So I parked this idea too. Then, of course, I also considered going into customer success consulting. This is something I already mentioned in another episode. And that makes sense because I've had several years in the industry. I especially was focusing on one-to-many customer management and customer marketing. And I did even a short project for another startup to see if that was something I wanted to explore further. Until I realized, and I had to be honest with myself and said, I need a break from tech. I just left that environment for some reasons. I do not want to keep working with that, even if it's on a more individual capacity. That was also something that I parked. Finally, we get to the coaching aspect, which is something that fit me really well because it aligns with everything that I am and everything that I've been passionate about in my career, which is, helping people succeed, having that human touch, using my empathy. I can work remotely. I work with people all around the world. So everything fits exactly the way that I would want my business to look like. The point, though, is that it took me so many years, as you could tell by the way I've been speaking about this, to figure out which one was the best idea for me to pursue. But the only way that I finally got to understand which one was that I should double down on was after I tested each and one of them. Because the moment I stopped keeping it intellectually in my head and started testing, that's when I understood the realities of what it actually means to do those things, and I could understand which one was the best. But I understand that even testing takes effort. So this is a framework that I'm going to share now with you that I have used with my clients and that I have had very good results with because it helps you eliminate some of the options that you already know are not even worth testing. Okay, so here it goes. The first thing that I want you to look at is your values. If you have never done this type of work and understanding what is that matters to you, what do you stand for, I really recommend you take some time to do that. And that is because if you don't align your business idea with something that you deeply care for, it's going to be very difficult to maintain it in the future because again, having a business is hard work. So that knowing that why and that purpose, that connection with your values is really important. Second part, and this is something I've talked about in another episode, is lifestyle. What daily life does this idea actually require? Back to the wedding planning idea. The idea of me having to go back and forth to arrange meetings with vendors, not aligned with the type of lifestyle I want to have. Third is energy. We shouldn't look at just what you're good at. We should look at what excites you, what makes you feel, the butterflies in your stomach and just like wanting to do the thing. Because again, it's going to be hard. So you better be excited about it. For example, for me, doing something with people was something that excites me a lot because I am naturally prone to that. And so that was something that I had to consider. And for example, being an artist doesn't necessarily put you in contact with people in that work. So that was one of the things that made me reconsider. Then we do want to look at what you're actually good at. So now we look at strengths. And strengths is not just the skills that you developed over the years, it's also those natural talents, that those things that you only can do, those problems that you only can solve. And that also taps into your experience as an expat, right? All that cross-cultural understanding, resilience, the experiences that you've had. Does the idea that you want to develop play on those strengths, or does it require you to develop a whole bunch of skills that you don't have yet? The final one, which I think is one of the most important parts, is reality. And reality means, where are you right now? Like, is the timing right for this specific idea? For me, with my upcycling idea in the university, it was not a good timing. It was a great idea and I still believe in it, but it was just not fitting where I was at the time. So what I want you to do is take the ideas that you have and then score them against these 5 areas: values, lifestyle, energy, strengths, and reality, and see how well they compare. Because I can assure you, there will be some that immediately will come up to you and be like, oh, actually, I thought about this in a different way. Now that I look clearly into this is not worth exploring. So you can start removing some of these ideas. An example I can give you is from my client that came to me with so many different ideas. It's wild how different they were. Some of them included opening a bookstore slash wine bar, opening up a travel planning agency, boat maintenance business, a change management consulting business, and a theater decoration business. Wildly different. This person is incredibly skilled. That's why they have so many different ideas and interests. And so it was really, really overwhelming for this person to decide which one they should even explore further. And the thing is that when we looked at all of these areas that I mentioned before, it turns out that the experience in the work that she was having until then was something she was proud of, first of all, and also she liked to do that type of job. And so it became very clear that some of the other ideas that she had considered were instead a bit romanticized in her head. But when we looked at the practicalities of what it takes, all of a sudden it became very clear that she had no intention to do them because they just didn't fit. Example, a lot of people, like the bookstore idea is something I hear so often on my friends. I've even said it at some point. I was like, oh my God, I would love to open a cafe that also has records and also sells flowers and whatever. Because I think we like that idea of like coziness, of bringing people together, of real life experiences. And it's a wonderful idea. But what does it mean in practice? It means in practice that, first of all, you're locked into one specific place because you need to be there, right? It's a physical experience. Second, it takes a lot of work to run a coffee shop. If anyone listening has one, honestly, kudos to you because it's so much work. It's not like this idea of you being in a cafe. You running a cafe, very different. So again, when we looked at all of that, it became very apparent that she felt drawn to the consultancy aspect of things because she liked what she was doing, but she just wanted to do it in a different capacity. And that's what we focused on, and that's what she worked on. And once she picked that, she also niched down the consultancy on something that was deeply aligned with her values and what she cares about. And now she's very confident about that and she's excited about the path forward. So it's crazy how she came with a billion ideas and she came on with one that was super, super, super strong. And what I want to mention here is also you are not picking this business idea forever. This is not a forever choice. You are picking what makes sense now based on where you are, based on what matters, based on your energy, your strengths, and all of these. And it can always change in the future. It can always develop. You can go back and revisit the other ideas later on. But this is just so you move forward and you actually do something. Because again, back to the start, not choosing is also a choice. If you've been stuck in this circling back all of these ideas for a while and you just can't do it on your own, which I know it's super hard. Again, it took me years to get out of this. This is exactly what we do in my Spark Your Expat Business coaching program. It's a high value one-on-one coaching program. I generally take only few people at a time because I want to dedicate my full attention to you and your business and your ideas. I'm opening now 2 spots for this month to start working with me. So if this is you and this episode really struck a chord, I want you to go to the show notes and you will find a link to book a call with me. And I look forward to hear about all of the ideas and I'm going to help you break them down and take one and then go step by step and make that a reality. So thank you for listening. Until next time. Thank you for listening to Business Sparks with Val. I hope today's episode sparked something for you. You can find all my resources, book a free clarity call, or explore working together at sparkcoachingwithval.com. And if this episode was useful, leave a review or share it with someone who's building their own thing abroad. Until next time, your business is waiting. Go make it real.